When Robert Mitchum finally decided to speak openly about Marilyn Monroe, the world listened. For decades, their names had been tied together through whispers, myths, and a single unforgettable film. But behind the headlines was a story of compassion, pain, and quiet respect, told by one of Hollywood's most enigmatic men. Robert Charles Derman Mitchum was born on August 6, 1917, in Bridgeport, Connecticut. His life began far from the glamour of movie sets. His father died in a railroad accident when Robert was only a toddler, leaving his mother, Anne Harriet Gunderson Mitchum, to raise 3 children alone during the Great Depression. She taught them resilience, grit, and independence, qualities that would later define Robert's screen presence. As a boy, Mitchum was restless, sharp, and rebellious. At just 14, he ran away from home, hopping freight trains across America during the Depression. He took whatever work he could find, digging ditches, boxing, writing poetry for money, and even spent time on a Southern chain gang after being arrested for vagrancy. These early hardships toughened him, giving him an unshakable understanding of people living on the edges of society. Years later, that experience would shape his unforgettable portrayals of drifters, outlaws, and men with troubled pasts. His journey into acting wasn't planned. In the early 1940s, he married Dorothy Spence, the love of his life, and settled in California. He worked at Lockheed Aircraft to support his family while dabbling in community theater on the side. His deep, magnetic voice and natural presence drew attention. Soon, he landed small film roles and eventually signed with RKO Pictures. By 1944 and 1945, with appearances in 30 Seconds Over Tokyo and The Story of G.I. Joe, Mitchum had earned critical acclaim and even his first and only Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. By the late 1940s and 1950s, Robert Mitchum had become one of Hollywood's most compelling leading men. He emerged as a defining figure of film noir, starring in classics like Out of the Past, 1947, Crossfire, 1947, and The Big Steal, 1949. He played cynical, world-weary heroes with a quiet intensity. While other actors relied on theatrical flourishes, Mitchum simply existed on screen, magnetic, effortless, unforgettable. His public image as the ultimate cool rebel was solidified in 1948 when he was arrested for marijuana possession, a scandal that could have destroyed anyone else's career. Mitchum, however, faced the situation with characteristic calm. He served a short jail sentence and returned to Hollywood with an even greater mystique. The incident didn't tarnish him. It made him a legend. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, he proved himself one of the most versatile actors in the business. He moved easily between westerns, dramas, and thrillers. In 1954, he starred opposite Marilyn Monroe in River of No Return, a film shot in the rugged Canadian wilderness. The movie would become famous not only for its breathtaking scenery and dangerous rapids, but for the undeniable tension between its 2 stars. For years, Mitchum avoided talking about Marilyn. He deflected personal questions with his trademark coolness. But late in his life, he finally opened up. What he shared wasn't gossip. It was a rare, compassionate glimpse into the woman behind the legend. She was a lost child in a woman's body, Mitchum said in one interview, his deep voice carrying the weight of memory. People saw the blonde hair, the curves, the walk. But inside, she was terrified most of the time. She wanted love, but Hollywood only knew how to sell her. During the shoot of River of No Return, Monroe's greatest challenges weren't the icy waters or grueling physical demands, though the conditions were brutal. Her real battle was with her own insecurity. Mitchum remembered how she constantly worried about being replaced, about not being good enough. You could see it in her eyes, he recalled. She needed reassurance all the time, and the studio never gave it to her. They treated her like a product, not a person. Mitchum, known for his quiet confidence and lack of pretension, developed a protective affection for her. Though their personalities were very different, his rugged, understated masculinity against her fragile glamour, there was a bond built on respect. She was late a lot, sure, he said with a wry smile. But when the camera started rolling, nobody could look away. She had that thing you can't fake, something that came from somewhere deep and painful. Unlike many around her, Mitchum refused to treat Monroe as if she were shallow or naive. "I never talked down to her," he said. "Everyone else treated her like she was dumb. She wasn't. She was smart, just damaged." Between takes, she sometimes confided in him about her chaotic childhood, her fears, and the loneliness that shadowed her, even as the world adored her. "She told me once," Mitchum remembered softly, "that being famous felt like being trapped in a glass box. Everyone could see her, but no one could hear her." Despite their chemistry, their relationship remained platonic. Mitchum cared for her too much to become another man with an angle. She'd already had enough of that, he said quietly. She needed a friend, not someone else trying to use her. When Marilyn Monroe died in 1962, Robert Mitchum was deeply shaken. He rarely spoke about it publicly, but in private he made no attempt to soften his feelings about the industry that surrounded her. "They killed her," he said bluntly, "not with a gun or a knife, but with pressure, lies, and loneliness. She gave them everything, and they took it all, until there was nothing left." His reflections on Monroe were raw and direct. "She wasn't stupid, and she wasn't crazy," he said. "She was just too gentle for a world that wanted her to be steel." Mitchum's life away from Hollywood was as remarkable as his career. His bond with Dorothy Spence began when he was 16 and she was 14, at a swimming hole in Delaware in the autumn of 1933. She had a quiet intelligence and small-town grace that balanced his wildness. By 1940, they were married in a modest ceremony in a Methodist parson's kitchen in Dover, Delaware. There were no movie lights or photographers, just two young people promising their lives to each other. Their marriage endured 57 years, through fame, scandals, and Hollywood's temptations. Dorothy remained his anchor, the steady presence behind the screen legend. Mitchum's career spanned over 5 decades. He starred in unforgettable roles in films like The Night of the Hunter, 1955, where he played the chilling preacher Harry Powell, and Cape Fear, 1962, where he became the menacing Max Cady. Later, he gave powerful performances in Ryan's Daughter, 1970, The Friends of Eddie Coyle, 1973, and Farewell, My Lovely, 1975, showing that age couldn't dim his commanding presence. He was famously unpretentious about acting. Co-stars often said he could nap between takes and deliver a perfect scene the moment cameras rolled. Beneath his tough exterior was a thoughtful, witty, deeply intelligent man devoted to his family. He even released 2 music albums, one of calypso songs and another of country ballads, revealing his warm, resonant singing voice. Robert Mitchum passed away peacefully in his sleep at 5:00 a.m. on July 1, 1997, at his home in Santa Barbara, California, from complications of lung cancer and emphysema. At his side was Dorothy, his wife of 57 years. Through his honesty about Marilyn Monroe, Mitchum offered the world a rare, compassionate perspective on a woman who was too often reduced to an image. His words remain a tribute and a warning about how fame can both elevate and destroy. "She needed to be treated like a person," he said. "If more people had done that, maybe she'd still be here."